just a half a second to catch up. What's up, everybody? I need to. There we go. All right, welcome. We're here for Legends of Lightning. I'm building on Bitcoin, building in public. I'm Andrew. I work at Galoy, and I'm your stand-in host for today. We've got Ed running the technology end of today's live sessions. I'm really excited. Last week we did a dig into stable sats, which is enabling USD in Lightning wallets, and we see some projects that are looking to build on Galoy, which is an open source cloud native Lightning developer platform. We thought it would be good to actually bring some of our engineers in and do a deep dive into how to build on Galoy, how to use the Galoy API. So this first session, we'll do a double header today. This first session is going to be with OpenNoms, who you may recognize from Raspberry Blitz, the Raspberry Blitz project, who also works on Galoy. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over. He's going to dig into the sort of setting up Galoy infrastructure and doing an overview of the infrastructure. And then in the next hour, after a short break, a 5-minute break between sessions, we're gonna have Arvin do a little bit of a demo for the Galoy GraphQL API. So without further ado, OpenNoms, welcome, thank you, and the floor is yours.
All right, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Andrew, for the introduction. Nice to be here. First time in the Board Fun Hackathon, and I'm very happy to see the various things coming up. Now, I will speak a bit about the Galoy project, the Galoy, what services really is being provided and how does it look like, what kind of infrastructure we use and how it is being built. In the meantime, we will try to stream a live demo, how to bring up a live environment that will have constraints on my own computer, but I have backup running as well, so hopefully that will be useful. And then just getting on with a couple of thoughts about what really we are doing here. So you have probably heard about Galoy itself. It's a company which is took up to provide open source banking infrastructure for communities, and it's increasingly being used all over the world. Most well known from the deployment in El Salvador, or let's say the usage in El Salvador via the Bitcoin Beach wallet, for which the infrastructure is provided by Galoy and all the software is made in-house. So a short introduction. It is so the company and the project started together as Bitcoin Beach wallet in 2020, when Nicholas Bertie was looking into the possibilities of using Lightning in some communities, and El Salvador, as also it turned out later, became a very good one to start with. And since then, the team was growing. Now there are 21 employees, which is a great number. We are kind of reluctant to move away from that, but on the up, I guess. And then these people of us are all over the world, so including in the US, from Europe, Asia. So we have a very good cover of the things for 24/7. There has been a big new feature has been introduced in August, which is stable sats is providing a USD balance spendable on via Lightning without using any tokens. That had a previous video with Nicholas, who's explained it fairly well. I recommend to dive into that as well. And a very short overview about the Bitcoin Beach wallet itself. It is downloadable from the Play Store. Also, the APK is on GitHub, and also available for iOS. you would need like a phone number to register, and like US phone numbers are not accepted, but otherwise very much recommended to try it for everyone. It is a custodial wallet, which means we call it a bank owner who is a community, holding the funds. A good proportion of them is in a multi-sig wallet in cold storage, and obviously Lightning funds are being held in the infrastructure and used to provide this very good instant payment experience, which we know Lightning from when it works well. It is used in various communities, mostly known as El Zonte, the Bitcoin beach itself, and increasing around El Salvador. But also there are like projects in Peru, Guatemala, also known as Bitcoin Lake, or Bitcoin Ekasi, which is in South Africa, for example. It is accessible and basically made for these kind of nascent communities who don't have first to like host their own infrastructure or run the nodes. They don't have the Uncle Jims deployed. They can start with this. A couple of features are integrated. People have Lightning addresses, so you can, when you register and log into the wallet, you can have a username, and then your username will be your Lightning address at pay.bbw.sv. Bitcoin Beach Wallet. Well, it stands for El Salvador. No misunderstandings, please. And then there is an Allen cash register function where you can go on a website with that is the same website, pay.bbw.sv, and / your username or / merchant / username, where it's basically a POS function where you can punch in the numbers, and then it gives you a Lightning invoice, which is paid to the username you've been logging in with. And then also static QR codes are being used, either with an URL pay, or there is a link provided for your username, which you open, and every time a new boat 11 invoice is being generated. The wallet itself is quite intuitive. It works with, well, I was about to say it works with one balance, with the on-chain and off-chain balance are not separate, but now it has a USD balance added as well, which is completely optional. People can move the funds back and forth between their set balance and USD balance. Again, more details about in the stable sets presentation about that. What I was going to say here, there is an earn function, which is more like an educational thing, where you can have you can be rewarded for making this quiz about Bitcoin for a couple of sets. It's just really good to onboard and make people familiar of what is Bitcoin and what is it for and how it is used. Also map function, which is, I hope, and we will look into merging it with the BTC map project, which has merchants pinpointed on the map all over the world. I mean, now it is zoomed into El Zonte? Yes, exactly. So it's a quite high density, but more and more pins are popping up all over the world. So yeah, that's just what is the user facing there. I mean, there are a couple more things, but I think it's a good time to dive into what is how this is done, how the soup is being cooked, because a lot of things go under it to be able to provide this seamless experience with the mobile wallet, and optionally the web wallet as well. So just a very quick overview. This has been the best kind of overview graph we have been coming up so far, which has most of the parts which we are thinking about on it. It might be quite busy, so I just mention about a couple of things here and then go into details afterwards. So as you can see in the middle, this is the stack, so-called, which is being run and built up on the Google Cloud infrastructure. So it is in a cloud deployment, which is, as you can see with the infra tools, it is orchestrated by Kubernetes, and we are using Helm charts and Terraform to configure it from using infrastructure as code. And then there are many monitoring possibilities, which are also part of the WAS stack. And this is in this little purple square on the bottom left. The continuous delivery and continuous integration is the biggest kind of feat of all this, because the way it is set up, this whole complicated stack can be changed basically line by line, anytime in real time, and the changes deployed in the code and on the live environment, while there is no downtime or like minimal downtime, depending on obviously which parts we are changing. And this method can deal with multiple deployments. So there is like one, which the Bitcoin Beach wallet, which is serving the Bitcoin Beach wallet. But then there is, for example, we are running continuously a staging environment, which is currently running on testnet, and we're looking into moving it over to Signet. But that is also a full-featured functional stack where you can play with the API and connect the mobile wallet to, and try all the functions, and also that is used for testing. So in a similar way, there could be other instances controlled by where the keys are controlled by the various other bank owners, but then the software can be provided by us, and all this continuous integration system and continuous delivery can be benefited from. We'll think there will be a time where see how this is actually being deployed. I think we are mostly, I want it to be developer focused here as much as possible. So what I'm trying to do is just to start this process, because I can speak a bit more about the stack itself while it is running. So we have 3 GitHub repos mentioned here, which is like github.com/GaloyMoney has like I think 55 repos altogether. Some of them, obviously, the sensitive configuration bits are private, but the whole software stack is open source. And the most notable ones are the /Galoy, which is consisting of the main repo and the backend API. That is what driving the whole logic between the behind the wallet. Galoy Infra is the configuration files which are used to bring up the infrastructure automated in GCP currently, but also there's been work to put it on Azure, and then some of this code is also used to bring up a local environment, which I will get to. And then the charts repo is where all the configuration is sitting on top of the Galoy infra. So that's where we are configuring the various bits. That's where they are being plugged together. So if we go to this charts repository, I mean, there will be a lot to say about the others as well. I mean, infra, maybe it is more interesting if you are actually looking into the deployment itself and you have a target, it's pretty easily done now for Google Cloud where we are using it, but then I think it will be pull requests or like projects going where it is being deployed to other providers as well. And then the charts, the Galoy backend actually. I mean, the most interesting thing of it is the API reference, but then obviously we have the repo here where this is all being linked, and we have a dev documentation site which is continuously being improved, and all the details can be found there. I wouldn't dive into the API itself as much, apart from like showing the reference at like GaloyMoney.github.io/Galoy, because in the next hour Arvin will speak about it in detail and demonstrate some of it. So when we are talking about deploying the infra itself, we go into this, or when we are developing it and changing things, there is this dev folder where we go to. This is again a public repository, so everyone can play with it especially if you have some Kubernetes experience already. There are a couple of dependencies here. So this is runs as a local environment, but this setup can be the basis or kind of the blueprint of a bare metal setup which someone can bring up at home or I mean, in their own hardware. I mean, not necessarily in Google Cloud. Not everyone wants to go that way. You might have your own data center or the equivalent thing to base your community bank on. So, I mean, this on the side, I have a terminal open and just checking that this is running on the same laptop. So this is nothing fancy, just like an i7 Intel. It's like 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it has dependencies installed already, which is like KSGD, which is a lightweight implementation of Kubernetes. So that is which is organizing the cluster itself, and then Terraform is kind of a translator, general translator for the configuration files to make it work with all the software which is being triggered from it. And kubectl itself, I mean, it's just really downloading the binary and having the server run with KSGD. The short flag here, so it should say that it is there. So this is where we are thinking this will be a live demo. Hope that it will work. Obviously, it seems that the actual Chromium does eat up a good bit of our resources here, but it should work. So what is here is we have git cloned the charts. Oh, there we go. It took a bit of thinking for this to come up, but basically what we want to see is that we have a fairly up-to-date version of Kubernetes there, or the kubectl binary there. So git clone the charts. I had a little branch done just to make sure I can try it before and there's no changes introduced while we are working here, as the rest of the team is busy. And then what we will do here is to start this process. And these are the commands themselves, which need to be run one by one. And there is the make file, which does show what is actually happening, that we basically just using Terraform apply on the various parts of the repo. So what I do, I just start these off, and then first KCD will spin up our cluster here locally. It doesn't take too much. The whole process to get to the end, it should be about 15 minutes. If I can keep the stream running in the meantime as well. If not, then I have a backup system I can switch over to. So now the cluster is up. We are initializing the dependencies, that's for Terraform, and then the services, which are partially pulled off from the Galoy infra repo. So we are thinking here, you will see here, this is just running a watch command with kubectl get pods to see which pods are coming up. I mean, these are like the things which are necessary to have the cluster running and have the IP addresses, local IP addresses, connecting the ingress, nginx controller, etc. So this is where we were, and then we will see make deploy is the next command when this is finished, and can go back to the slides in the meantime. So what we'll do here is just to have this running. Hope it's readable. So this is just Terraform output. We can see this in our continuous integration environment as well, with every little change we introduce. So now we get to the stack itself. Now it is being built up, right? So let's pretend that my computer is, well, the cloud is just someone else's computer, right? So, this is my cloud. And first of all, we have all the infra tools being orchestrated here. And then we will see the Bitcoin full node coming up. It will be running on Redshift, so with a block height of 1 to spare time. But if it would be using Signet, which has only like 130,000 blocks, so very small, couple of 100 megabytes of blockchain size to download and scan, it can come up in like 40 minutes as well. But always like for local testing, Redshift is the fastest. So we have Bitcoin full node. This is being served, or kind of it has GUI, which is Spectre desktop, which can coordinate the multi-sig custody. So the bank owners can have their keys offline and just coordinate the code funds through that, logging into the infrastructure on their own deployment. And then we are using 2 LNDs. One is, there is like priority between them, but if one is down for some reason, then the other can be configured as a fallback. These are dealing with obviously the off-chain, so the channels and the balances there, routing and delivering the payment, pathfinding, etc. What LND does, but also for the API, we are using the on-chain part of the LND for the hot funds to construct transactions and provide on-chain payments as well, which obviously both Lightning and on-chain payments you can do with Bitcoin Beach Wallet through the API. And then this blue part is the Galoy API, or is the Galoy core, or however we call it. That's the GaloyMoney / Galoy repo, which does the does have the ledger where the double entry accounting is working, which means that it provides accounts for the users independent of the Lightning balances, and obviously merges the balances of the two nodes, and it has an abstraction layer. Also, many ways to prove its correctness for ourselves, most of all, but then also there is like a proof of sets project where the balances, the proof of liabilities and proof of reserves can be shared for like outsiders or the clients themselves as well. The Lightning Gateway functionality, that is again partly RTL. We love to use the CLI, but there is also RTL, which does provide a GUI for channel management. And then the stable sets project with the dealer and stable sets repo, putting the price and making this hedging bets on the basically Bitcoin shorts to the extent it is supposed to store a USD balance, no leverage, right? Plugs into all this as well. So that will come up here as well. Now we just recently introduced Kafka, which is kind of an info collector which can export the data to an external analytic tool that is making possible to do all kinds of live or semi-live dashboards and analytics on the bank statistics. And then the very important thing is the authentication layer, which is connecting to, which is very universal, and it has a couple of things like a proxy called AuthKeeper, which does prevent any unauthenticated request hitting our API. So it's a very important security layer. And then we have various ways of managing access rights, and also all the ones accessing the backend would use hardware 2FA. And then the identifying the users. Currently it is as you register with a phone number. It does send out an SMS, but it could be also and is also on the staging environment an email and password authentication that is provided by the Ori Kratos software, which is very versatile. It can basically do any kind of arbitrary rules to be fulfilled to make the authentication happen. So that is configurable to various other ways. Any bank might need their own ways, but yeah, email and password and the phone number is already implemented and working well. So to all this through the authentication layer, there are the end user applications which we can download or open on the web, are plugging in. There is the obvious mobile applications, which are the Bitcoin Beach wallet, or hopefully later on we'll have a mobile application which will be able to connect to other backends, so-called federated. And basically, as this is an open schema and the backend is open source as well, anyone could build a mobile application which connects to it and does various other things. It's because it is on the API and has this core ledger there. It can do intra-ledger transactions, and all the on-chain and off-chain functions are basically not seen by the user, but managed by the API. We have a web wallet working already, which you can try out on wallet.mainnet.galoy.io for the mainnet environment, which is like Bitcoin Beach wallet. But you can also go to the staging one, which is working on testnet, where you can first of all need to log in, which I won't do at the moment, but can send and receive Bitcoin as you would expect. No worries, this is a testing environment. And then marketplaces, these are projects which are being built on using the API, which are not like the solutions which have been mentioned previously, like the ATM functions from Lemessu. There are like an invoicing application from Zeprite, merchant tools from Tianki, and anything custom can come here. We have an admin panel. This is for internal use for the bank owners to kind of manage the users. This is actually something which is well, it's quality of this stack that you have the bank owners have visibility to the accounts pretty much in like in a traditional banking setup, whereas you could contrast this to something like Fedimint, where the account provider is completely blinded and have no way of well, adhering to any kind of rules they would want to, or decide which users they would want to use their service or not. So that's the admin panel. It can raise, for example, limits or reduce limits, add users, and like override the authentication requirements, etc. And then what we get here, I mean, these are kept very much separate, as these are third party, not something we are providing. Let it be some added compliance services which are required if someone would build a more how can I say, regulated bank on this stack. And then fiat integration also, I mean, we have stable sets, which is synthetic USD, and it's just sets, right? So there is no fiat rails. You cannot do like a bank transfer, or you cannot send your USD to a bank account, but you can send it to any Lightning invoice or on-chain address. So if someone would want to have spot trading or fiat accounts, that would be something which could be brought by a third party. Liquidity optimization, automated balancing, and dynamic fees. These are something there are many tools, but they are very specific of each node. So this is something we can look into, but I think this is more appropriate to be run by the people who are controlling the funds themselves and have full access to what they want to do there. There is some integrations which are already within the Lightning Gateway functionality, like automated loopouts, or like liquidity management, opening and closing channels. Obviously, that's something which we do and need to do to keep a Lightning node running and always be able to pay and receive. And then that's where the Kafka part came in. Oops. And let's just run a make deploy here, because rest is finished. The dependencies have been set up, and then the deploy part is when all this is actually coming up. So put that got there. So the BigQuery data warehouse is what can be used to build any of the custom monitoring tools, graphs, and whatever you need. And that's what the Kafka tool is exporting to, for example. I mean, these are all pluggable and can be changed. So, right. So just to do, I think that was pretty much all about this graph. So let's just come into a little more into the Kubernetes deployment while it is running. So we now see that we had the basics done, and then Pt.1 is initializing. And then there are a couple of commands which you can run. Obviously, this being registered, it has been very quick to run a full IBD because it's only one block, right? We can also see here, I could catch that there is, the generate block sh has just generated block. Yes, properly using registers. That is all. Make sure that we can see it functioning. And so these are the parts which are being defined in these Terraform configurations and the values which you are passing. So if you would want to have your own flavor of this, then you would need to edit these things. Like, for example, this is the LND configuration additions, which are added on to the default settings. Define network here, how much resources it should use. That's more relevant to GCP, I think. And this is the local configuration of what I'm running. But then in the charts, obviously it's all built on the charts, is the general configuration of, let's see, LND, for example. That's the most, like it is slightly complicated, but there are a couple of things which are added onto LND mon loop and loop server for testing, and can dig into this, how the actual like pod Kubernetes pod is being brought up. I think if you are familiar with Kubernetes, that is quite self-explanatory, but then also these are values where there are like ports defined, and various features are switched on or off, and all kinds of things can happen. But back to the dev part, where this actual environment is written down, and then we can already see that, like, we have LND here, so you can peek into the logs themselves. Like for Pt.1, you can see it is already hitting the RPC server, so that is obviously running. And then we can see what LND is doing, for example, here. So it managed to reach that block height of 1, which we generated, and then, all the things which it should do, it does. And still, we are only, maybe a bit more than halfway, because once LND is deployed, I think it's getting close to that, we will have the Galoy charts coming next. And here, we can either wait here a bit, but I think just to save time, and we'll see how is my computer doing. Okay, yeah, not too bad. Chromium is eating a bit, but we're still just using the half of the RAM. So that just shows that it's pretty much able to, come up on a normal laptop as well. I mean, these will probably go to the red a bit more when all the pods are running. But here is another server of mine. I mean, this is a server which is has 12 cores. Again, I'll be honest, bought it used for like without discs for like £120. So it is not I mean, it's a powerhouse, but it's not an expensive thing. But it has 12 cores, and you know it runs everything. This one is being already synced because it takes 40 minutes, and this was synced for Signet. I mean, it doesn't do much. Like load is 1.2. It can do a couple more of these. And what I like to show, that this is the same place where we will get to with the other one. That, for example, let's see. I hope these are all the pods. Well, make it a little bigger. And see that there is like web wallet deployed. There is the Galoy Pay, which is the POS page, the dealer for the stable sets, and most importantly, the API is running. And we have RTL, we have LND. So obviously using the command line is similar to when you are using something with Docker, for example. You can just exec into the pods and run commands inside. What is more interesting is to try out here, for example, RTL. I have these commands. Basically, typing them is a bit much, but I have them copy pasted. And what it does do is from this Galoy SIG Bitcoin namespace, it port forwards for the RTL pod the port 3000 to a local 3000. And there's a bit of trick to it because this is a remote machine. I need to do another port forwarding, which is also done just by VS Code. Very easy. And I go and open browser. I should be able to log into RTL, not even one time, but a couple of times. Right, okay, but now, for example, this is password protected, obviously, and this is a password which has been generated for every deployment in a safe manner, also configurable. So I need to extract the password from this one. So that's again, well, it's at the moment on this local deployment, just using the Kubernetes secrets to do this, so I can access all the secrets I have here. Just echo after. There we go. Again. And I set this node up earlier today, so it should have some sets on it because I went to a Signet faucet and just mailed it as we should. So RTL, yeah, we know this, hopefully. And I can even, I've added a peer here. Our friends, Eric Syrian, Signet server, Signet Lightning node. I could even attempt to open a channel, let's see. So let's see, this is now different from patch list that, you know, I'm connected to the rest of the Signet network. So it's not just isolated. It's not just an isolated environment. Cool. And we could have seen lots of LND as well that it happened. Oh. I think. There we go. It has the SCB backed up. And there is the funding transaction, which basically matches the one which we should see somewhere here. Yep. So it works So that's RTL, can be used for channel management. And then now this is possibly the time when my machine is getting slower from the from all the plots running here. Now I have a little bit of a higher load here as the API and everything is syncing up with the backend. So now I just, to be clear, I switched back onto the terminal, which is running on my laptop and not on the server. So just for the sake of being able to continue, I'll stop this. And I can pass it all together. So completely making this Redshift deployment disappear. And we can just continue playing a little bit. Maybe one more thing for the one more thing with the Signet one. So yeah, so this is confirmed. I mean, confirmed in terms of mempool.space have seen the transaction. It's not confirmed yet on the Signet chain. So we'll have a channel open there. That's great. But what else we can do? So let's forward another port. And for that, I go back to my helper. GaloyDev, GaloySig. And then this is kubectl port forwarding. This one I do through Ingress because that's running as well. That's basically the Nginx controller doing the SSL encryption for the interface, and that I have. And need to make sure that I have the port 8080 forwarded as well. I have. But just in HTTPS /, and obviously it's a self-signed certificate as it is not really exposed on a global internet. And there we go. Well, first it links to our staging environment, which is the testnet one. Can be opened just in the browser without running anything. And I can do. So the next tab is running on the localhost 8080, which I just forwarded from my server. And again, I will refer to the coming presentation from Arvin, where he can show some more things happening on the API. But let's just run this one default command, which successfully queried the BTC price from my local instance. So that was, obviously we see that it is communicating, and we could also see Galoy logs. We have the name of the pod. Let that be the last thing I show here, and then we'll be very happy to answer any questions which audience or Andrew or anyone else joining has. There we go.
Check.
Hey, I hear you. All right. There we go. So we are clearing the price here. Just trying to make it. Something's happening. Yeah. Okay. So that was all with reference to our dev site, dev.galoy.io. And then if you want to dive into the repositories, my favorite with the deployment is this GaloyMoney /charts inside the dev setup, dev folder, and then the Galoy repo has links to the other things.
Awesome. Thank you for this overview. This is super cool. Really good to see this kind of all into packaged up into a sort of a single 45-minute block, kind of beginning to end. I had one question. Seeing some folks posting stories and projects on the Legends of Lightning tournament site. From the developer perspective, what are some of the skills that, like, if you were looking to build a community bank on the Galoy platform, and you were building a team, like what skills and what types of folks would you need to sort of be successful and be able to hit the ground running?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I did myself have had a quite steep learning curve for familiarizing myself with all this cloud infrastructure, because obviously I've been working with deploying Bitcoin nodes and a lot of the building blocks through the Raspberry project and just with my kind of own endeavors. But a good understanding of so it depends. If you want to run everything yourself, then you would need to be able to deploy it and manage it, which would make you need to know a lot about Kubernetes Helm and the Terraform configurations, and hopefully, we use a Concourse continuous integration pipeline, not one, many of them, to be able to continuously deploy and update the code. So familiarity with that is something which you would need in your team. And then each repo has its own kind of part knowledge, which is the main Galoy repo is written in TypeScript, mostly JavaScript, mostly TypeScript, converted from JavaScript, and it does have quite a bit of complexity. So a good familiarity with that would be also useful. And then the new things like the stable sets and hopefully more and more parts of the Galoy stack, like working on a CLI for like more advanced transaction management, etc., is written in Rust. So that's something where we would really ourselves are looking into grow, but also who will want to build on, especially the backend. That would be the skill which is used the most. And then if you are applying the front end, obviously design and React Native knowledge and working with mobile apps is another thing which could be part of the team. It depends what you would want to do yourself, but I think probably the backend can be provided by Galoy, and that's what we are set up for, to be able to manage multiple instances of this. And then the custom things on the top of this picture could be built by the client while we are managing the backend for them, even with the possible option later on to completely extract the keys. So we already don't have access to by we, the bank owner who is managing the infrastructure has already not have access to the multi-sig custody keys, for example. But obviously LND is something which is running hot. That is a project which I'm also working on to try to extract that and do a remote signing feature where the keys would be held separately either in a separate cloud instance or with other kind of access management, or even completely in the client's premises to have the keys for themselves. But that was a bit of a detour. What I wanted to say, that we can manage the backend, but the web applications, the mobile applications, and all kinds of things which are integrating it or using this GraphQL API are to be built. So probably a small team would have that as a minimum to be able to build some tools on top, and then see what else they can do themselves.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just a quick shout on that. There's a great session that Quentin from, I think, Albi did last week on Lightning for Enterprise and kind of building up Kubernetes, like with Kubernetes from scratch. So like this could also be complementary to that, where that kind of shows you the steps to build towards some of this stuff, and it gives you some context. And then what we have here in the Galoy stack is a set of like just curated Helm charts and stuff that give you like the finished template. So like if you want to understand a bit of like how we got to where we are, that could be useful maybe. But then this is kind of like useful for just one click kind of deploying things with, make commands and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why we try to demonstrate this, that it can run locally and really worthwhile to dive into that and play around with it, modify it.
Awesome.
Right.
I think we're about at time. So
yes, I'm really glad that Arvin has joined in. So I think from my side that would be it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about this.
Yeah, we're gonna actually close this this room or session down, and then we're gonna open up the other link in a few minutes. And so Ed, I think, will be sharing a link to the next video, or you can check out GaloyMoney on Twitter. Meanwhile, also you could hop into chat.galoy.io and or open up GitHub. We're at GaloyMoney on GitHub. So just a few links for folks like in between that want to kind of connect the dots here. So yeah, I think we're gonna sign off. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, and we will dig into using the API to build products on the Galoy stack. So thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Cool. See you in a sec.